This is section A of the summer 2014 Unit 1 paper. So this is the last paper that has come out for Unit 1. Over time, the questions kind of tend to change. The examiners try to swap things up a little bit. They don't want them to become too predictable. So if you are doing past papers, which you should be doing, you should always start from the most recent one and work backwards, because the ones from 2010, 2009 are quite different to the more recent ones. So if you want to get an idea of what your exam is going to be like, the newer ones are closer to the real thing. So if you find the newer ones easier than the older ones, that's a good sign, because that's what it's going to be like. So going to go through section A, multiple choice questions, and the first one, as seems to be quite common, starts with a calculation mathematical type question. So they're giving you information here on sales revenue, profits, operating profits. So the question says, using this information, what is the correct answer? So when you see the word sales revenue, i.e. the amount of money you make from sales, and you're seeing operating profit, it should trigger in your mind that having the figure for operating profit and having the figure for sales, you can use those together to find operating profit margin. So the equation for operating profit margin is operating profit, which is 52.7 million, over revenue. So it's 52.7 over 377 times 100, so it's always a percent. And you find, when you do that, that you get an answer of 14%. So operating profit margin, what percentage of your sales turns into profit? The answer is 14%. It can't be any of these ones that talk about increasing costs or profits falling, because we've only been given data for 1 year. So we don't know what things were like the year before, therefore you can't compare them. So operating profit over sales times 100, that's operating profit margin. So this is the only answer that it even could be. We don't even know what gross profit is. Gross profit is sales minus variable costs. We don't have variable costs, so we couldn't work that out. And we don't have fixed costs, so we couldn't work operating profit out. So it has to be operating profit margin for that one. This question is about H&M launching a David Beckham range of underwear, and it says it's only sold in H&M high street stores, so no other shop sells David Beckham underwear apart from H&M. The business opportunity is best described as a form of, well, if I'm selling a product that is different to all of my competitors, then it must be market differentiation. So you'd start by saying market differentiation is when a business has uses a unique selling point, such as a unique product or a unique service or some sort of unique customer service or advertising to set itself apart from its competitors within the market. It wouldn't be test marketing. Test marketing is when the business chooses a small section of customers and gets them to try out the product to see what their opinions are. Well, that's not true. They're not choosing a small section. They are launching this product in high street stores. It is a mass market product. So it can't be that. It's not a trade-off. Trade-off is when you choose one option instead of the other. It's a bit like opportunity cost. Well, they haven't chosen one thing over the other. They have simply chosen to release this David Beckham underwear. So you would say it's market differentiation. They're the only company that sell David Beckham branded underwear. Therefore, their product is different to all the other ones. That's their unique selling point. 3, we've got an Italian restaurant in Russell Square that it prepares more expensive dishes made with fresh ingredients. What is the fresh ingredient in terms of business? The answer is about adding value. So you start with the definition of adding value. Adding value is the process that a business uses to increase the quality of the product in the eyes of the customer. It's about what the customer thinks. So it's changing the production process so that in the eyes of the customer, they feel that they are getting a better quality product. They are doing something new to production in order to make the customer think, oh, this is better product than I could buy anywhere else. When a company, a chocolate bar manufacturer, when they, let's say, you'll sometimes see on bars of chocolate 20% more nuts, 20% more caramel, they are showing you they have added value to the product. In your eyes, you might think 20% more caramel, I am getting higher quality products, therefore they have added value. So I'd say adding value is about presenting in the eyes of the customer a better quality product, therefore they are more likely to purchase the product. It's not to do with trade credit, because that's about buying a product now but paying for it later. It's not nothing to do with this at all. And qualitative research is about doing market research that involves giving you opinions or ideas. Well, this has nothing to do with market research, so the answer is clearly D. Question 4. Graphitism is a quarterly magazine aimed at street artists in the UK. It's not widely available to buy from newsagents. Graphitism is an example of a product which has a market niche. It is not available to buy from newsagents, so you cannot easily buy it. Therefore, it's probably only got a very small customer base. There are only a few customers or people in the UK that would potentially even buy this product. Therefore, it is a classic niche market product. It doesn't appeal to everyone, it only appeals to a small market. So you'd start with a definition of a market niche. A market niche is a small subsection of a larger market in which all customers have similar characteristics. So in this case, the market niche is a magazine aimed at street artists. So it's aimed at people who enjoy street art or who are street artists. So like Banksy, for example. The answer is not a high sales volume, because within a niche market, generally sales are quite low because there is low demand. So that's how you'd answer 4. 5. April. This one causes a bit of confusion. In April 2012, Yahoo announced it was cutting 40% of its workforce to focus its resources on supplying products in the profitable mobile technology market. This is most likely to result in a fall in. So if I cut 14% of my workforce, that means I've got 14% less wages that I have to pay. Therefore, wages are a big cost. So what it's basically saying is they've cut 14% of their costs, or at least costs from their workforce, which means their costs go down. What happens to a business when its costs go down? In economics, the answer is its supply goes up. So if your costs go down, you supply more. Therefore, what's going to fall? The answer is the price of mobile phones, because when you supply more at a lower price. So costs go down, the business supplies more at a lower price, therefore mobile phones go down. It's cheaper to make them because we've cut our costs of making those mobile phones. So in this one, there is not really anything to define specifically, but you could talk about how cutting costs leads to more supply at a lower price. That's showing knowledge. You'd say cutting the workforce, that's a cost, which means that the supply of mobile phones will go up. If you had to do a knockout answer, you could say it would not be C. There would not be a fall in their long-term profits because they're cutting their costs in order to make more profit. Cutting costs should lead to more profits, not less profits. Question 6. Tesco's was going to launch Tesco's car, which is an online car sales company, in summer 2012. However, they abandoned it. The decision may be explained by each of the following except. So why would a business abandon its long-term plans? The answer is C, an ethical stance taken by directors. Directors who operate in companies like Tesco's that have shareholders generally will not act purely based on ethics. The directors do not own the company, the shareholders own the company, and shareholders only care about one thing, and that is profits. If Tesco's cars was going to be profitable, the shareholders would want them to go ahead. So you wouldn't cancel it based on an ethical stance, because the directors would not want to do that. Directors work for shareholders. Shareholders want money because they get profits through dividends. You can't say shareholders get profits. They don't. The name given to shareholders, the money that they get, is called dividends. So shareholders want as much dividends as possible. You get a dividend based on how much profit the company makes. Therefore, they're going to have to go through with Tesco's cars to make that profit. If there was rising level of unemployment, you might want to stop doing Tesco's car, because when unemployment is high, people have less disposable income. They will not buy as much luxury goods. Demand for luxury goods goes down. A car is essentially a luxury good. It's really expensive and you don't need to buy it. So it's not A. Next question, we're talking about a group of business students from a college in Derby who bought and resold Krispy Kreme donuts. Their cost of sale was £80. That's how much it cost to make the product. Average selling price was £1.20. Fixed cost was £20, and 200 donuts were sold. What's the total contribution from the sale of donuts? So total contribution is contribution per unit times by the amount of units sold. Well, you need to know the equation for contribution per unit. That is selling price minus variable costs. So let's have a look. Selling price is £1.20. We don't know what our variable cost for each one was. We only know what the total variable cost was. That means the variable cost for all of them is 80. So I can't do contribution per unit because I don't know what the variable cost was for one. So instead, I can work out the selling price, the total selling price for all of them, and then minus the total variable cost, and that will get the total contribution. So £1.20 times 200 minus 80, and then you get your answer there. So you do the equation, you work it out, and that's basically it. So you get your mark for putting in the definition, and in this case the definition is going to be what total contribution is. Then you show your working out, you plug your figures in, and you get your answer. The answer is C, £160 there. Good bit of padding I just did there while I was trying to work it out, because I can't work it out in my head. So the answer was £160. No need to write anything, no need for written bits here. Putting the equation in, show what the equation is, you're done. Final question of this section. Remember, this should take no longer than 30 minutes. You have to stop after 30 minutes. Right, spring 2012, Burger King transformed its menu and the design of its fast food outlets. Source of primary research data for Burger King might have included all of the following except. So it's basically saying all of these are primary sources of market research except, well, firstly, we define what's primary market research. It's market research the business does itself. So product trials, they would do themselves. Loyalty card application forms, well, they are sent to Burger King. So that's them. Observations, they observe customers in their stores. The only one that is not done by themselves is market intelligence report. This is a form of secondary research, which is research done by another company that Burger King could then use. So you give that definition, define what primary research is, say wouldn't be observations because Burger King would carry out the observations themselves in their stores. And that brings you to the end of section A.